latest edition of A Course in Miracles Live. And I was just praying this morning and feeling that Spirit wants to come through and talk about some very important topics. And so I titled it Truth, Integrity, and Honesty. So the truth is spirit, the truth is oneness, the truth is eternal love, the truth is the kingdom of heaven, the truth is God is, and there's a period after that. God is truth. Truth is not a matter of opinions, truth is not a matter of perceptions, truth is not a matter of interpretations. It's just absolute in its nature, in its state of being. So really, it's beyond everything in the perceptual world, but the important thing is it can be experienced or reached or discovered, we'll say, through integrity and through honesty. So when we talk about honesty, for example, Jesus has that listed as his second characteristic in the 10 characteristics of a teacher of God. And basically he said the term actually means consistency. So we're not talking about honesty and relating to anything that seems to be a fact in this world, but we're actually talking about being consistent. You know, at one point he says in the workbook, everything that you think and say and do teaches the whole universe. So if that's true, everything I think and say and do teaches all the universe, then it must mean that there's some kind of alignment that is required to bring about this consistency. And Jesus is teaching us that since everything is mind, everything is in mind, and the world even has not left its source. It is still a concept in the mind. It's a invention of the ego, but it has not left its source. The world has not left the perceiver. The perceiver and the perception are not different. The observer and the observed are really not different. But in terms of consistency, you realize you have to have consistency of thought in order to have peace of mind, in order to have stability, in order to have tranquility and serenity, and to feel harmony. You have to have consistency of thought. And some of you have seen my levelsofmind.com website where I'm talking about these different levels with desire in the middle, and then belief another ring, and then thought another ring, and then emotion another ring, and then perception another ring. Consistency would be found through the miracle, which basically lines everything up. It takes away the level confusion of the wrong mind and shows everything from a perception and interpretation lined up with the Holy Spirit. And so from that desire to heal comes forgiveness, and from forgiveness comes the corrected thought system of the Holy Spirit, and from that comes the emotion of love and peace, joy, harmony, all the beautiful emotions, and then we could say healed perception, or Jesus calls it true perception in the Course. It's the happy dream is a reflection of that consistency of consciousness, and that consistency is only possible when we're completely lined up with the Holy Spirit. So a lot of times people, say, what do you do if people act inconsistently towards you? What if their behavior is unpredictable? What if they don't keep their word? If they write something to you and they state something to you and then they completely disregard what they've written and do something else entirely? What do you do? Really, Jesus is teaching us you need do nothing. It's just a matter of opening your heart, opening your mind to the miracle. And the miracle is quiet and silently does nothing. It just looks and waits and watches and judges not. It's a state of non-judgment. It just sees the false as false, and then it's a period after that. Just sees the false as false. The miracle does not create nor really change at all. It merely looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. So the consistency comes in when you start to open your mind to forgiveness. Then you have the thoughts of the Holy Spirit that are moving through your mind and filling your mind with light and love. And these thoughts are real thoughts. These thoughts are the thoughts you think with God. These are the thoughts you think with the Holy Spirit. It's just called guidance. It's just called intuition. It's just called being in your right mind, being lined up, and how beautiful that is. And there's a strong consistency that comes from that, because only right-mindedness is consistent. There is nothing consistent about wrong-mindedness. Wrong-mindedness involves level confusion, the belief that there's causation in form on the timeline. Wrong-mindedness sees externals as being capable of causing other things, like something of the past can cause something of the future. All of this is part of a misperception of wrong-mindedness, but right-mindedness is completely consistent because it's completely aligned. And in that sense of right-mindedness, you could say everything that you think and say and do is in perfect alignment. You're not going to be falling into the vices of the ego, which is just basically wrong-minded perspective of the world. It's a wrong-minded thought system. It's a wrong-minded interpretation. All sense of stealing, all sense of crime, all sense of being unfairly treated is wrong-mindedness. It's just, that's what's in need of healing. And the mind is only healed as it opens up to the Holy Spirit and the right-minded interpretation and perspective of the Holy Spirit. So when we come to integrity, we can start to see that integrity is of the mind, because you come to a unified purpose. Through prayer, through guidance, you have a unified purpose, and then everything unfolds from following that purpose. When you choose to align with the purpose of the Holy Spirit, you're really making a decision of purpose, and then if you stay with that purpose, all your seeming future decisions will be the same purpose. Because the future is just a projection of the past, but when you have a present purpose with the Holy Spirit, then you might say, the personality is out of the driver's seat. Now you're just being an instrument, like St. Francis, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Now you're just being done through with the Holy Spirit, done through by Jesus, shining, sharing, extending, loving, caring, hugging, smiling, laughing. That's natural, because right-mindedness is where the consistency is. That is true abundance. That is true sense of self-worth. That is a true sense of just natural happiness and joy and peace, because right-mindedness is the perspective of the Holy Spirit. And when you open to the miracle, you're lining up with that perspective. So the integrity, it comes from there. And then what you seem to do, Jesus says in the Course, what you do comes from what you think. So when you go for that consistency of thought, and that's coming from the belief system of forgiveness, of just seeing the false as false and staying with the light in your mind, staying with the Holy Spirit, then you perceive everything from that consistency. You have integrity of mind. You have integrity of your heart too. As Jesus taught in the Sermon on the Mount, blessed are the pure of heart, for they shall see God, and everything flows from that purity. And in that sense, that's also what true empathy is. True empathy is staying with what's right, staying with what's real, what's true, right-minded, real in the sense of inspired by the Holy Spirit in terms of this world. Whatever is inspired of the Holy Spirit is guided to unwind the mind from this wrong-minded perception of the world. And all guilt and all fear, all anger, all sadness, depression, all conflict comes from the wrong-minded perception of the ego. The ego is a death wish. The ego is what sickness is. It's the belief in separation from God. That's sick, especially since you were created to be one with God, so to believe you can be separate from God is a sick idea, and it's a sick idea of false identity, and then a cosmos of time and space seemed to unfold from that sick idea of a fall from grace or a separation from God, and then proceeding a fragmented world is just wrong-mindedness. People often have asked me who in their right mind would choose to be sick, and I always say, yeah, you got it. No one in their right mind would choose sickness. Sickness is a wrong-minded decision. And if you feel like you have this urge to blame somebody or condemn somebody or point the finger at somebody or judge somebody, those are all just wrong-minded motivations, because that's all ego. Those who fail to forgive must judge because they must justify their failure to forgive. And that's how we start to really open up here to the healing power of the light. You have to begin to see the impossibility of attack, the impossibility of judgment. You have to see the impossibility of division, of taking sides, the impossibility of duality. That's what right-mindedness is. It shows you the impossibility of duality and multiplicity. It's simple because it's unified. Sometimes in the Eastern teachers of enlightenment and self-realization will talk about unified awareness. Well, that's what forgiveness is. It's unified awareness. It makes no attempt to separate anything out because there is nothing to separate out. Unified awareness is bliss. The key word is unified. And awareness is that which you focus on, and when it's unified, then your focus is on wholeness. And that's the function of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the presence in the mind that is just always calm and quiet, peaceful, serene, because it is unified. The Holy Spirit is unified. So I know one time Mother Teresa had a prayer, what do you do if people let you down? What do you do if people lie to you? What do you do if people bear false witness about you or your name or people that you know? What do you do? How do you react and respond? What do you do with falsehoods? What do you do with gossip? What do you do with lies, if lies are being spread? And the thing about it is, Jesus is teaching us through these deep teaching that deception and lies, gossip, blaming, condemnation, they're all part of private minds and private thoughts. And private in this sense means that if you have a grievance against anyone or anything, if you accuse anyone or anything, you're simply viewing the world through a sense of privacy, a private mind with private thoughts. That's what the human condition is. That's what the personal perspective is. God is no respecter of persons because God didn't create persons. God creates spirit. God creates Christ. God creates in eternity. And believe me, persons are not Christ or eternal. They are not going to last forever. The persons are very temporary. The flesh, as Jesus says in the Bible, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the spirit is spirit. Meaning that which is born of the temporary is temporary, and that which is born of the eternal is eternal. It's just really, really basic. But when you start to see that it's only wrong-minded perception that it generates a private world, and that Jesus is teaching us private worlds cannot be shared. Private thoughts cannot be shared. Private minds cannot be shared. It's like making a perceptual hell, and the perceiver is the ego. And the ego only can see attack, condemnation. It can only see crimes. It can only see in a very deceptive way, because the ego is the belief in separation. It's a death wish. So it perceives death all about it in its projection of a world. And that world cannot be shared. Thoughts of God can be shared. And you might say, even with relationship to this world, which involves perception, that only the Holy Spirit's interpretation, or the Holy Spirit's perception, we'll say, unified perception, only that can be shared. And nothing else can be shared. You can't share private thoughts. That's what you might call false empathy. When you share with the Holy Spirit, when you share the thoughts that the Holy Spirit gives and inspires, then that's true empathy. That's joy, that's love, that's gentle laughter, that's happiness, that's glee, that's bliss. That is what we have available, and that is really all that we have available, because this game of private minds and private thoughts, and these games of possession and ownership, that game is over. It's like Jesus is offering this light of the atonement, this light of forgiveness, and he's like in the mind, if you want it, here it is, come and get it. Open up to it, open your mind to it, allow your mind to be lifted up into the celestial realms above the battleground of the world. That's the beauty of it. Because all you have really in your mind is the choice of interpretation, and that interpretation is basically limited to a range of wrong mind and right mind. You can either hold on to a wrong-minded perspective of the world or a right-minded perspective of the world. Wrong-minded, if you're upset in any way, if you perceive unfair treatment, victimization, abuse, you are singing a very sad song, and you're looking at a private world in which only those kind of witnesses show up to a mind that believes in death. And if you change your tune, or if you give your mind over to the happy tune of the Holy Spirit, more like a Gershwin song, grab your coat and get your hat, leave your worries on the doorstep. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street, the sunny side of the mind, the right mind, that's where it's at, And so, getting back to that prayer of Mother Teresa, people will treat you unfairly, love them anyway. She's just saying, be in your right mind. People will break their word. People will seem to steal from you. People will seem to bear false witness all the time and try to spread false witness, but you can't share illusions. What's false is false, and you can't make a forest fire out of a little candle of falsity. You can only extend the love and light of the Creator. Only the thoughts of God can be shared. And ideas are strengthened as they're shared. So if you are feeling upset and you feeling caught in the blame game and the gossip game, you feel like you're surrounded by wickedness or cruelness or whatever, Jesus is saying, well, you can choose again. You can change your tune. You can realize that you have not been mistreated. As Jesus says, beware of the temptation that you can be unfairly treated. You have never, ever been unjustly treated, because the presence of God's love, which is real and true, is in the mind and hasn't left. The Holy Spirit is a remembrance of this love. And this love transcends all time and space. It transcends everything of this world. And then you start to feel like you're happy for no earthly reason. You're happy because you have integrity in your mind, integrity in your heart. You're happy because you're living an honest life in your mind. Right-mindedness is the goal of mind training in A Course in Miracles. And what Jesus is saying is stay in alignment with the Holy Spirit, stay right-minded, and then enjoy the fruits, enjoy the peace and love and joy and happiness. It's real. It's as real as this world. It's a reflection of divine reality, which is pure abstraction. But in this world, you're just looking at the world in a different way. That's what Bill Thetford said to Helen Schuckman back in 1965. There must be a better way to live. There must be a better way to look on this world. And Jesus is like, glad you asked for it. Because I'm happy to lead you there. I'm happy to guide you there. I'm happy to show you that. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Jesus is coming through all the songs. A whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. That's where the joy is. But you have to give up the ego perspective. You can't continue to play the blame game. You can't play blaming this and blaming that. You can't play the point the finger, game. If you're pointing the finger at anybody, if you're accusing anyone, it's just absolute insanity. Because as Jesus has said in the Course, you need to put this in your memory. Take this to heart. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience, and I decide upon the goal I would achieve, and everything that seems to happen to me I ask for and receive as I've asked. Well, that's it right there. No victims, no mistreatment, no injustice. You start to see that the ego is just a crazy tiny man idea, and it just generates stories. It just tries to justify its dark feelings, its dark vision, which isn't really seeing at all. And it makes up stories, and then it tries to share those stories, and they turn into gossip and sharing lies, sharing falsity. It's just, it doesn't go anywhere, because Jesus is saying, if you're in ego perception, you're in a private world, and you're just perceiving what you believe in. If you spot it, you got it. If you believe it, you perceive it. If you believe in the ego, you're going to be a fault finder. You're not going to be a forgiver. Forgiveness, quietly just looks on the world and judges it not. It's so simple. But if you believe that forgiveness is personal, then you're down to this person, that person. No, you need to be right-minded to forgive. You need the miracle. You need a miracle to see the world aright, to see the world clean. So you don't really have to react and respond to falsity. You don't have to react to, we'll call it negativity. or positivity in the sense that if people seem to be reflecting this belief in pride, they're proud about being this, or proud about that, or proud about some kind of self-concept. No, that's not it either. It's really letting go of the hatred. It's really coming to the consistency of heart and mind where you can feel that that's just kindness. That's just simple, honest kindness. Integrity is kind. If you feel kind and gentle, then you have integrity. It's that simple. You have an honesty going on. There's an honesty, there's consistency. Kindness can be consistent because it is consistent. You know, you don't have to do anything to be kind. It just comes from a beautiful heart. It just comes from caring, loving. The kindness is just a natural expression of that caring and that loving. And so you learn with the training, mind training of Jesus and the Holy Spirit, you learn not to react to things. You don't react to outcomes. You don't react to events. You don't react to people. You don't react to writings. Even A Course in Miracles, you know, Jesus, as you read the text, as you practice the workbook lessons, as you get into those workbook lessons, he's going to say, now we will attempt to go beyond the words, into deeper prayer, into deeper silence, into deeper reverence, into deeper serenity and tranquility. You know, that's where the Course is leading. It's like a leaping off point, leaping off from the insanity of the ego, leaping off from these strange, twisted perceptions that are attempting to show somebody did something wrong or somebody did something that needs to be corrected. The ego even likes to play the spiritual police officer, where it's going to try to tell people what they've done right, what they've done wrong, and it's based on a model of guilt. You know, even when it's saying you need to do something to make up for what you've done wrong, it's a system of guilt. And when you're in the right mind, everything flows. You steward everything. Everything of this world is just a symbol. All the words, all the actions, all the symbols of the world. The body becomes just a symbol that the Holy Spirit can use to shine the light, to spread the joy, to be in the flow of grace. How beautiful. That's a spectacular thing. But there's nothing that's ever going wrong. As Jesus tells us, all things work together for good. There are no exceptions except in the ego's judgment. And in the Bible it says, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. And if you love the Lord and you're in an alignment with God's love, you know, that's how you go your way and sin no more, because sin is just an error. And if you go into your right mind, that is the correction of the error. So how beautiful it is. Life is glorious when you feel it as it is. It's God-given. You can feel the gratitude. You can feel the appreciation for God, for love, for life. And then it just flows through you very, very easily and very, very, very naturally. So, yeah, that's what I had coming up today. I wanted to talk about truth and integrity and honesty. And really that's just an invitation. It's like, come into the glory of God. Come into your right mind. Come into your innocence. Come into your kindness, your gentleness. Don't even think, don't be tempted to blame or point the finger. Don't be tempted to accuse. Don't be tempted to put anyone down or put anyone on a pedestal either. No idols and and no put-downs. Just kindness doesn't do that. Kindness is authentic. It's just be transparent, be authentic. That's all we're asked to do. It feels good because ideas are strengthened as you give them away. So as you live a life of integrity and you live a life of honesty, then you open up to divine truth. It's inevitable. Especially since Jesus says the truth is true and only the truth is true. That's true empathy. That's basically true empathy. That's the way to live in light and love and joy. So, I send you my blessings, I send you my joy and my happiness, and live life. Prosper in the joy of the present moment. Prosper in the love that's in your heart that wants to just shine forth. There really is no other purpose for anything but to let the love shine forth. And then what seemed to be the hatred and the suspicion, the fear and the doubt, the guilt, no more. No more. See a happy dream this moment. See a forgiven world. See a world without problems. See and express the divinity of who you are, and let that light shine for everyone. Don't hide that. Hiding is of the ego. Shine it, share it, extend it, and let it flow abundantly. Beautiful. Have a beautiful day. Love you.